You are listening to Fantha tracks.
Oh, g'day mate, how you going? Well, chilling back here in the bar, and I am having a coldie, and I'm talking some Star Wars today. I hope you're going to enjoy the show. We're going to be doing a bit of a flashback, back to the old days, back to the expanded universe, now known as the Star Wars Legends. And that's right, folks, let's get into it. Fantha Tracks Radio's the Fantha from Down Under.
This is Mark Telfer. Congratulations, you've tuned in to Fantha Tracks from Down Under.
G'day folks, how you going? Welcome back to the monthly show here from Down Under on the Fantha Tracks Radio Network, the Fantha from Down Under. Surprise, surprise. Joining me today, all the way from Boston in Massachusetts in the United States, is somebody you know very well. Been on the show many a times and has some fantastic blogs on Fantha Tracks right now. That is, of course, Erik Onkenhout.
Hey man, how you going? All right.
I've got to say it, we both love the literary side of Star Wars, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, after the movies, it's that's my thing. That's my jam, as the kids say nowadays.
Yeah, you know what's funny is that we're only talking about it off air a couple of days ago. How you can pay with a Blu-ray or a DVD. What is it? It's probably about $30 worth of purchase, right? You do the same for a book, comic book, or ebook, whatever you want to call it, and you get more enjoyment out of them. I think because of the amount of time you spend with it.
Yeah, yeah. If you buy a Blu-ray for $34.99 and you watch the movie and you maybe watch the extra the features and that's maybe like a day or two of enjoyment, and then but a book is like weeks. Mm-hmm. If you take it nice and slow, and that's get more for your money.
You really do. You get far more. I think you get depth of characters. I think that's the great thing about the new thing they've done since, whatever it was, 2012, 2013, when they sort of restarted the storyline. They gave us that, didn't they? They gave us sort of like an interplexing storyline which, included all of that supplementary material.
Yeah. So, what do you mean? Like, are you talking about when they redid the canon, or?
Yeah. So, I think the one thing that it did do, it brought everything together tighter, if anything, with the canon. I think, the previous expanded universe was one that was not as guided, I would say. A lot of people say that, there was so much going on from, different artists, different, obviously, writers and different creators, that, there's no one way to sort of bring it all together.
No, I mean, it was all over the place. I mean, they would have to go back and, retcon things left and right. It was kind of like, for me, I would just kind of, try to overlook it and be like, oh, whatever. It's just how it goes. But, I try to make these feeble attempts to try to keep things straight, but I'm just like, it's just too much going on.
It's huge. It really is. And tonight, folks, we are going to be delving into some of that universe, the expanded universe, in particular, some of the Dark Horse work, which, I think at the time we had, the Zahn books, we had Anderson's books and Stackpole, and, I suppose that first sort of rung of post-Jedi books, but some of the ones that I really enjoyed were Tom Veitch's work. Obviously, we're going to talk about tonight is Tales of the Jedi, which visually striking. Scott, I actually love the ship that they've got in this, which is basically a Jedi ship that they use, and it's the most beastie, but the most also, just like the Millennium Falcon, it looks unwieldy, which I think is what makes it Star Wars. Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since I looked at those comics, but I do want to reread those soon when I kind of I just want to go back and revisit some Legend stuff. But I just remember that series being so different from the Star Wars that I knew from the movies. Mm-hmm. Just the designs, the ships and everything, which made sense because it was 4,000 years before
Oh, yeah.
A New Hope. So
yeah, it's literally, this is literally 4,000 years before the birth of Luke Skywalker, with
right.
centering around the Keldroma family, and of course the Jedi. He's a Padawan to a Master Archer. His name is Erik Keldroma. Erik's an interesting character because he literally goes all the way through. So, and he also has a very Luke-like arc, except he does fall to the dark side, does become a Sith Lord, and like Luke, loses his Force powers.
Yeah, he's actually a lot like Anakin, if the way you described it.
Actually, you're probably more so. It's like an amalgamation of all those characters, and he loses members of his family through his rage and stuff like that, and that's part of what brings him back, and of course we've also got Naomi Sunrider, which is one of the greatest Jedi from the old days.
She's awesome. Doesn't Ulick kill his own brother?
Yeah, he does. Yeah. I think it was Kay Keldroma, if I remember right. Yeah, but these were a great series. I probably had this as the second or third trade paperback I picked up, and this came out in 1994. So I think I picked it up in about 97 out here in Australia. We always got comics 2 to 3 years after the US. And written by Tom Veitch. The art, I always thought was brilliant, is done by Chris Gossett and Mike Barrow for Chapter 1, and Janine Johnston and David Roach for Chapter 2. So they're just really, really interesting at the time where obviously Star Wars was coming back. We heard on the pipeline the prequels were on the way. We had books coming out, and then Dark Horse got the license from Marvel and really just ran with it, didn't it? Yeah.
I remember, actually, not that long ago, I was Googling Chris Gossett, because I don't remember him working on anything Star Wars after that. Mm-hmm. But I always liked his art so much, and I kind of wanted to see what he was doing nowadays, but I really couldn't find much. But, I just remember that art just being so distinctive,
Yeah, there's a lot of, obviously it's, the line work particularly that he did was... it looks very Marvel, but at the same time, the detail that's there is far more than Marvel ever did in theirs. Yeah. Well, he's worked with buildings and machinery. He gets that Star Wars style, and particularly with the Jedi ship that we see in it as well. The great thing about that is that it does have this sense of Conan the Barbarian meets Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars. Yeah.
I always describe his art as being kind of like sketchy, it's kind of raw looking. I always kind of like that kind of art because it's just like it doesn't look perfect, but it looks like it just looks good.
And it suits that period, which is I suppose against anything. It's the prehistory of Star Wars, so in some ways it's good to have it a little bit more. Hatch-like, there's a lot of hatching, cross work and stuff like that in the line work, and it's just perfect. Yeah. The design of the characters too is interesting. There's the actual Jedi look a little bit more military in this.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mention it, it kind of reminds me of. Well, I always kind of thought this, but I always thought the art in not just that Tales of the Jedi series, but like all the series that came after that. They all looked very, almost like Egyptian.
Yeah, actually, I could see that. There's kind of there's especially with Onderon and the Freedom Mad Uprising, which is another one. Which luckily I've actually got a signed version of that one, which is fantastic.
Oh wow!
So this one is called the Beast Wars of Onderon, which I think has a little bit of an influence from those Ralph McQuarrie paintings from. From Bespin, where you have the flying craft, the flying beasts. We saw some of that in Camino, basically, the same sort of idea. But I think as early as 93, 94, when they were putting these together, this is what they were thinking of, because they have those guys flying around these, Arabian-looking cities and stuff like that. Onderon obviously takes a bit of an influence from that.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely the kind of like the Middle East kind of look, which would make sense because if that time is so far in the past and in real world, that time is also so like far in the past. So for me, that made sense. So it worked for me.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I like about it, that there's sort of I don't know if it's an Aztec influence, possibly Aztec, but maybe Inca influence from South America in the way that, the designs are for the Onderon soldiers and stuff like that too. There's definitely, like, even the blasters that they're carrying look like spears and lances.
Yeah. Yeah, it all makes sense. I mean, all those ancient civilizations, I think they tapped into all of them. So
yeah, definitely. Now the ship design, which we're going to get to, is it's a unique design. It looks like it strays out from one big line, but also has kind of like this thing where it must transform a little bit to break into two wings. So it's it reminds me a little bit of the B-wing design.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's kind of got that variable sort of, because as they come into land, it looks like those wings must split apart or something like that.
Yeah, it's very kind of like that swing wing, comes in and out. Yeah,
it's a beastie looking thing. So you've got obviously Kay, and you've got obviously Ulick. Both these brothers got a master by the name of Arkajeth, who's their Jedi Master, and also have another Padawan with them, Donita, which is the Twi'lek that's with them as well.
I always thought those names are so unusual. I remember just like saying them to myself back then when I was reading them. I'm like, these names are so weird. and I had the audio books on cassette.
Oh wow!
And I remember listening to them like at work or at home. And I'm like, oh, these are so corny, but they're so good.
Oh, definitely. And I think the other thing, too, is, we looked straight to the lightsabers. There's quite a different design here going on. Obviously, it's much more broadsword-like. The Twi'lek is using what looks more like a Dooku-like saber. It's got a curved handle to it.
Yeah.
It has a guard on it, too, by the look of it.
I have to, I got to pull up some images. It's been so long since I saw these, but
it's amazing. Obviously, they're versing the soldiers, and it looks like the royal family or whatever it is of Onderon. Now, of course, you could see that in the Clone Wars. I can't remember whether it was season 3 or season 4, but you do get to see a little bit of the canon version of that in those seasons when Anakin goes in there. But there's some great imagery a little bit later as they head into the jungles, and their battered cruiser basically is camouflaged in there. Now, these scenes, when I was reading them, Robotech was playing on, was it Channel 7 out here in the morning? So this is when I was in university. And I remember seeing the scenes of the Jedi cruiser landing in there and going, oh, this reminds me so much of Robotech, because in Robotech, in the third one, Invid Invasion, they used to always hide the jet fighters, whatever it is, the Veritech fighters, in the middle of the bush. So it's the same thing, trying to camouflage them so that they would not be seen by the bad guys.
Nice. Yeah.
And it just looks spot on, eh?
Yeah. So, if I'm trying to remember the story right, is Exar Kun also in this series, or did he come later?
He's definitely in it, but he's in a later part of the series, which is called the Sith
Okay.
Lords. I think it was called the Sith War or the Sith Lords. But basically, Ulick seeks him out and basically falls to the dark side. So he becomes the master to him. And, of course, that ties into later on where Jedi Search, or basically the Jedi trilogy, Jedi Academy trilogy by Kevin J. Anderson, brings back the spirit of Exar Kun.
Yeah, because that book came out maybe a year after the comic started.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I think Exar Kun was an apprentice to another Jedi, and he ended up killing his master. And then I don't remember exactly how they crossed paths, but I remember Ulick became his apprentice at some point.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And he was known from back in the old days as the first guy with a double-bladed lightsaber, a blue one.
Yes. So yeah, when Darth Maul came around, it was I was like, oh wow, they're bringing it into canon.
Yeah, well, and that's pretty much it. Like, it's they had that come out, and then I remember Kevin J. Anderson saying, "Yeah, well, I kind of done that."
Yeah.
You know, so he got the ball rolling, and obviously George must have had a look at, you know, the EU and just gone, "Hey, that's a neat idea. Let's see if we can do that on screen."
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't new, even though it seemed new to like some people, but no. Actually, it's been around, but
it has. But
it's
again,
cool stuff.
I've always thought of these as the right way to do the technology of this time as well. It looks old, like everything looks like it's actually properly old, like it looks ancient, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. It's just everything looks like anything old. Like, even if you think about architecture in our world, it's much more intricate.
Yeah.
And, you know, but just like in this comic, all the old lightsabers, the clothes, the ships, everything is much more like creative and artistic. You know, and nowadays everything's just so sleek and everything. But yeah, it definitely looks cooler.
It does. And the thing is that really ties into, obviously, you know, the drama of that, without going too much into the Beast Wars of Wonderon, is set around then sort of, you know, bringing stability to the planet and to the royal family of Onderon.
Yeah.
So it's a great... I think at the end of the day, it really shows I suppose, his, you know, temptation with the dark side a little bit, because he does get that sort of rage. But this is... I liken it to his Phantom Menace. This is kind of like Ulick's time as a Padawan before he does fall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a good analogy.
It is. Which brings us to, of course, the saga of Nomi Sunrider. Now, Nomi Sunrider is such an interesting story, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, she was, I think, one of the first female, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, female Jedi that was really, you know, just a major character. I
think so too. Yeah, she's a reluctant one too, because it's actually her husband that is the Jedi. So he's a Jedi watchman of the Stennis system, and he's, I suppose, you know, like an outer rim. I liken it more to like what they're doing with the High Republic. These Jedi are more like marshals. You know, they go out in settled places, you know, and negotiate and do all the stuff, I suppose, that you see George's Jedi doing, but. It's interesting because you get to see that they're actually literally on the frontier. You know, they're out there taming the places ready to bring people in. So that the Jedi Knights were kind of, I suppose, navigators of the new frontier.
Yeah. And you know what was cool about her, too, is her master. I forget his name. But he was like that four-legged animal that, didn't speak. And she, was confused. She's like, I don't want to be a Jedi. And she's telling the master, hey, I don't want to be a Jedi. Leave me alone. And the master just wouldn't respond. And then finally she was put into the situation, I think, where she had, no choice but to pick up the sword.
That's right.
And, yeah. Because, I think that's right.
Because at the end of the day, it was, the...
Master Thawne.
Master Thawne, that's it, yeah. And what's interesting about it is the way that it comes in. Obviously, her husband, is caught in a scuffle in a bar or something like that, and he tries to, do what he's got to do, but he's gunned down for whatever reason, and then he appears back to her as a Force spirit and says, at the end of the day, pick up my saber and take up the fight. You have the Force as well.
Ah, all right. That rings a bell.
That's right. So, she had, I suppose, a latent ability with the Force. She picked it up probably later, like Luke and Leia did. It's there, but it wasn't paramount for her too. So obviously, part of what she's doing is then taking on the plight of the husband and becoming obviously learning the Force, and she's going to a planet that's very much like Tatooine, isn't she?
Yeah. Is she? I don't remember.
Oh, well, she is. She goes to, so basically a planet to find Master Thawne, obviously. And,
Yeah.
it's her... Well, it's more about her hero's journey. She meets characters along the way and stuff like that. But there's huts in that too, which is what is great about this story is I'd like to see a canon version of this because we get to see the Scoundrels sort of universe of Star Wars, which to me I don't think we get enough of. We got a lot of it in Clone Wars, and we certainly got a lot of it now in Mandalorian. But a live action scoundrelly stuff, that's real Star Wars.
Yeah, I remember the cover because I got the individual issues, but the cover of each one was so nice. I remember just staring at them. The art was so good.
I'm looking at them right now. So I've got in the trade paperback. If you go to the back of it, you can actually see it. But there's one with so for the Beast Wars one, you've got Ulick in a classic pose, a little bit like Qui-Gon, with about 12 lightsabers behind him lit up.
Yeah. So before you go on, so I remember reading somewhere that each one of those sabers was supposed to represent like a Jedi, like on the council or something. Because there was supposed to be like 12 Jedi that were on the council or something like that. I don't know.
Oh wow!
I remember reading that a long time ago. I don't know if that's true or not, but
it's a beautiful painting. And then you've got Donita on basically a beast. So and these are looks like it's Dave Dorman did these. The artist.
Oh yeah.
So that's why they're so memorable because I remember his work on those. So you got that, and then you've got he's sort of taking out some of the guys on looks like Onderon. Then the pictures for Naomi Sunrider. There's a great one where Dorman's done the husband already cut down, and she's holding her baby and just about to pick up the lightsaber. Then there's a bounty hunter in chains in front of what looks like Gardula the Hutt, even though it's not Gardula. And then, of course, we have Master Thon and Nomi literally going to town with the saber as well. Now, what's interesting about the artwork for each one is that, obviously, you get your own interpretations of those, from Dorman to those artists, but God, it looks good, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, I'm looking at it right now. It's the colors,
Yeah, it's very vivid, isn't it? Bright and vivid.
Yeah. Yep.
So, look, I think the one thing that this takes away from compared to, say, the Old Republic, which, probably is a little bit later in the timeline, if that's, in the same sort of era, but this looks the real history as far as design, because I always think that the Old Republic looks too advanced.
Yeah. You mean like Revan's time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though it's, I don't think it's that, it's only like 1,000 years earlier than this comic series, but yeah, definitely, there's no connection, like, artistic wise. There's nothing.
No, that's right. I think the thing is too, obviously it's different periods. I mean, Old Republic was, by obviously a completely different company of creators and artists and stuff like that. But what I look at too is that, here actually looks like it really gets with that sort of, it's almost a Robert E. Howard sort of a look, that the guy who made Conan. This is a fantastical version of the Star Wars look. It definitely goes with that sort of mystifying...
like sword and sorcery kind of stuff.
Yeah, it really does. Look at like the old Conan comics from Marvel. Back in the old days.
Yeah.
That's what I see of this, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, that's why it looks ancient. The design is right for that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you think about it, at the time there was no, the prequels were a few years away. There was really nothing else going on.
Yeah.
And they just had like this wide open area to like do whatever they wanted.
Oh yeah.
So they're like, they go back so many thousands of years, and they don't have to adhere to any kind of, rules. So they're gonna make it look like whatever they want.
Totally.
So
folks, if you haven't got this or the Sith War, which I think is just as good, I think you need both of those to really get a taste of what this is like. You have to check those out because. The only other one that I got a sense of this was from, I can't even remember the Dark Horse line, but it was the Star Wars about the Jedi, which was like the first type of Jedi, and they were from Tython.
Yeah. Were those comics?
Yeah, they were comics. They came in around about 2010, 2011. And I remember really enjoying them. There's one part of the universe of the Jedi that I'm a little bit annoyed with that they didn't have a canon version of, because it actually made a lot of sense that the planet like Tython, which is so vivid with the Force itself, only people with Force power can really live on it.
That does ring a bell. I remember reading a book called Into the Void, and that was like the very earliest novel.
That's the one.
In the old...
Yeah, they did a novel plus a couple of the other... God, I can't even remember the series now, but the series was good. Like, and they had those sort of pyramidal ships that went around and picked up potential Force advocates and took them to Tython to learn the Force power. Yeah, I'm on like Wikipedia trying to find out. Is it Dawn of the Jedi? Yeah, Dawn of the Jedi. That's the one. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, great artwork too. Again, that was one of the last series that they did. You know what? That was good artwork. I'm looking at cover of issue number 0. Yeah. Yeah. And look, I love what Marvel Star Wars has been doing too, but for me being a fan and just enjoying comics in general, I haven't collected like I have the Dark Horse ones. Dark Horse ones, they had a bit more free reign because obviously they're not into that canon thing. They can just do whatever they want. And I think that's what I enjoyed about it so much. Yeah. So it's it's brilliant.
That Ice series was written by John Ostrander, so they did the Legacy series.
Yeah, they did. And they did a bloody good job of it too. It's well put together and all that. So, but before we go on to looking at anything else in that, folks, because we will in the near future. I've got to say that some big news came out this week, and I think it's something that we all know was happening, but a certain clone came to pass. A certain clone.
Oh.
We have to talk about it. Pelpa clone.
Palpatine?
Palpatine, yeah. So, well, look, here's the interesting thing. He's not really a clone. I think people are getting mixed up about what a clone is and what it is. It's a shell. It literally is. The spirit of Palpatine is in there. Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it. I mean, I'm not really surprised that they said he was a clone because, he's been dealing with clones for 60 years. Of course he's going to be a clone.
Now, with that, obviously we have Snoke, who I think we pretty much surmised was Palpatine. Obviously, maybe that was their way of trying to get a body for Palpatine to work. And they've just been trying to clone bodies. And finally, they were able to clone the one that he had from Jedi.
Yeah. So, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here, man.
Okay. So I don't know, I still don't get why or how he had those Snokes inside, the formaldehyde, whatever that was. But I'm still not sure how that's going to play out, because did he intend on using those Snokes as well in case something happened to the
I think that's what it implies. I think what it implies is that they were able to bring his spirit back from the netherworld. So they had that, but they just didn't have a body, a corporal form. That's what they always wanted. The Sith were after to live forever mortally. That's
to cheat death.
To cheat death. And his only way was to obviously somehow bring with Sith magic, because that's what they're doing, is to bring it back that way. But he wants to be able to do it physically. Yet Luke and Yoda are able to touch the physical realm in Last Jedi and in The Rise of Skywalker. So they've actually ascended correctly.
Yeah. So they're better.
Oh, yeah. And so it had Palpatine, given up the dark side and all that and, repented, or whatever you want to call it. perhaps he would have been able to do the same, come back as a light spirit.
Yeah, that would never happen.
No, not with him. He's done too much bad.
I think he's like just evil 100%.
There's nothing redeeming about Sheev, you know, at the end of the day. It's you know, look, I still want to see a canon version now of what James Luceno did with Darth Plagueis, you know. I mean, we probably will never happen, but we need it. Yeah.
A friend of mine actually just messaged me today. She just finished the Plagueis audiobook that she listened to for the first time. So. Oh,
nice. That's a beautiful book.
And I think she liked it, but she said something about how it went through the timeline a little bit too fast for her, but I personally liked how it connected with Phantom Menace and even overlapped in some places. You know?
Oh, yeah, definitely. The book was originally meant to be a Qui-Gon book.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Because I remember them talking about that, I think this is like years before, I don't know if Luceno was involved or whatever, but I read somewhere, I can't remember if it was the wiki or whatever, but that they were trying to find out, you know, a way to tell his story about how he was the first to come back through the Force, you know, after death.
Yeah.
And part of that would be in tangent with Plagueis, because Plagueis was trying to do the same thing. So these two, you know, masters of the Force, in their own respect, trying to find a way. And I think they found that Plagueis' story was just the more, you know, convincing, you know, and all the different apprentices he had and all that sort of stuff too. So But what's interesting about them bringing Palpatine back, as it seems to be in the movie, is that bringing him back brings back all the spirits of the dark side. All of them.
Yeah. But I want to know who exactly he's talking about. Like, what spirits, you know what I mean? I want names.
Right. Is it Vader? Is it, well, it wouldn't be Vader, but is it Plagueis as well? Is it
probably
Revan?
Plagueis?
Yeah. That's
yeah.
Right.
Darth Bane?
Darth Bane, yeah, 100%. Which canon now is Mark Hamill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, all the Sith that came before him.
Oh, yeah, it's just huge. That's one thing I'm interested in reading Ray Carson's book when it comes out. You know, it's finding out what they've done there and vice versa. But again, folks, you have to really get back and check out these Legends / Expanded Universe books of old, because again, you know, what's canon now will not be canon later. You know, when they, you know, in 10, 15 years they decide to do whatever whoever takes over then decides to reboot again. Because again, Marvel comics from the 80s have been rebooted. So reboots are inevitable in any franchise. So I say enjoy all of them for what they are.
Yeah, and you know, another good reason is because if they come out with something now that was taken from Legends, and then you can read that Legends source material and kind of like see where they're getting this stuff from.
Oh, 100%. You really get a flavor of it.
Yeah, exactly, and just be more familiar with it.
Definitely.
So.
Now, folks, you've also got to check out Erik's blogs, and he's done one recently for Fantha Tracks.
Yes, I did. And it was a hot topic.
It was. Are we going to be seeing more from you with Fantha Tracks in the near future?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Can't get rid of me now.
Nice. And the thing is, too, folks, you've got to check out not only Fantha Tracks, but Fantha Tracks Radio as well now, as we have a massive database of, well, this is about the 44th show, I think this is, of Fantha from Down Under. Many on Making Tricks, and, of course, we've got a host of other podcasts there to check out as well, so you've got to go and check those out. Erik, where can the folks find you?
I write for retrozap.com. Actually, my Mandalorian article got posted today. I just wrote about like some of the new things that we saw in the Mandalorian.
Sweet.
And I write occasionally for Skywalking Through Neverland. Mm-hmm. So, in Fantha Tracks now.
Awesome.
I'm all over.
Folks, you've got to check that out. And, of course, Erik, you're welcome on here anytime to chat Star Wars, books, you name it. We're going to be doing plenty of that. So, want to thank you so much for being on the show today, pal. And, of course, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you as well. Thanks for having me.
This is the Fantha from Down Under.
Get out, man. How you going?
Star Wars news in a single file.
coming to you live from Queen's Cantina and the Gold Coast of Australia. This is your slice of Australian Star Wars news.
Hosted by the Malt himself, Adam O'Brien.
Alrighty, mate, let's get into it.
If you want to get in touch with Fantha Tracks, this is how you do it. You can drop us an email, radio@fanthatracks.com, or you can comment on our Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Tumblr, any of our social media feeds @Fantha Tracks. If you want to listen to the show, you can tune in on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, listen to us on Stitcher, subscribe on Android, listen to us on Spotify, on SoundCloud, subscribe on TuneIn, listen to iHeartRadio, or even on Spreaker. We're on smart speakers such as Amazon Alexa, Apple HomePod, Google Home and Sonos. We're also available in your car, if you've got a car or an handspeeder, with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, or on your gaming consoles and your television. You can find us on Fantha Tracks TV. You can get the Fantha Tracks app, can't recommend that highly enough, available on all platforms. And for any details on how to listen in or subscribe, head to the Fantha Tracks radio landing page on fanthatracks.com.
Hey folks, how you going? Here's the Fantha from Down Under, and calling in from the outback in Alice Springs is Shane. Hey Shane, how you going, mate?
Oh, yeah, not bad, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good, mate. How's the weather out there? Here it's raining cats and dogs.
Well, I've managed to dodge a few of the little buggers, but, you know, some mongrels nicked me ute.
Somebody's taking your ute. Now, that's a utility to those overseas in the UK, or you know, I don't know what they call them in Scotland.
Maybe. No.
They're called a lorry, do they? Something like that. Maybe.
I don't know what the drongos call them.
Now, you've got to tell me, you customise action figures out there in Alice Springs, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you'll have to let us know what
stick bits on.
You have to let us know what your favourite figure is.
My favourite figure at the moment?
All right, folks, it looks like we've lost connection with our pal Shane in Alice Springs. Now, we get it's Rick from all the way over in the States. Give us a sec, folks. We're here on the side of the road. Hey, Rick, how you going? Hey, Ricky, how you going, mate? Rick?
Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. And I hear you're stuck on the side of the road, too, somewhere in Nebraska.
Yeah, I'm just back out here in the wilderness right now, cooking myself some rabbit stew.
Oh, wow. So
got it on the old aluminum hub. Got it on the old aluminum hubcap, and it's frying up a rat treat.
Oh, nice. Now, I hear that you actually were the one that saw Rise of Skywalker in the back of your car projected onto a sheet of, what was it? Polyester. It's laid out in the back of a caravan park. Is that true?
Kind of, brother. It was like a Big Mama t-shirt I borrowed off her line, and I just hung it up there and broadcast that camera type thing that runs on electricity, and it popped the old picture box in the t-shirt. God dang nabbit, I had such a grand time of things there now.
So, Palpy is a clone. What did you think of that?
What did I think of what?
Palpy is a clone.
How healthy is a clone? Are you talking about the clone in It?